Yes, we are live. Welcome, friends, to PC Journey. I'm your host, DPZ, part of the Luca Nation Network, and I have with me a very special guest, a guest I could not get a bagel from in person while I was in New York 2 weeks ago, but I'm being told I might get some in the mail. I'm excited about that. I think I'm already hungry. I just had dinner, but I'm hungry still yet. We got Bagels and Wax. Hey, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm gonna put you on full screen here so I can see it closer. So, what's your first name again? I'll get this all. Let's get all
Vadim. My first name is Vadim.
Vadim. Okay,
Yep.
let's not your origin story, but I want to know why you collect cards. Why do you collect cards? What's the connection for you? I mean, how did you get involved in the first place?
So it all started. My family came here in 1990. Came to America from Russia or Ukraine. When we came here, our bagel store had an account to get Topps cards. So we were selling them in the store. My dad started bringing me cards as gifts. Give me one moment. I'm really
Yeah.
sorry, Pat.
No, it's all good.
I
We're
got I
live,
got
boss.
my
Try to find it.
I have two dogs. I was like I let's go. Come on,
We can
girls.
clip. We
Let's
can
go.
clip this, or we can roll with this because I think we should roll with it because this is live, baby. This is how it goes.
Well, this is the puppies are down here. I'm in my home office. The
You're
puppies
solid, man. Look at that. We're getting a
decided to
tour.
come.
We're getting a tour. We didn't know we are gonna get a tour. We're getting a tour.
All right. So sorry
I
about.
like
Oh,
it.
you're gonna get a full tour. I gotta
Yeah.
figure out. Can I flip this cam? Can
Yeah,
I
do it.
flip the cam at
Flip
any
it.
point?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
How
I'm
do
sure
we
you can.
flip it?
Well, you just did, I think. Or did you?
No, I
I'm not
I
sure how to.
paused it. I
I'm
gotta
still
figure.
I'm still a baby when it comes to StreamYard. I'm not. I'm not. I don't know all the tricks. I'm not like
Okay.
Cage where he knows all the tricks.
I don't think Cage knows the tricks. I think that's Andrew's show.
I think it's Andrew's. Yeah, I think he knows all the tricks.
So sorry. Back to I started collecting. My dad would bring me home packs of cards, for good grades and for stuff. So I started getting into sports big time. I was 6 years old when we moved here and collected up until I was about 15, 16. Like a lot of people, took a break for whatever reasons, but kept all my stuff. And in 2018, my little guy was 2, and I decided I want to, take funds were a little more available. I was able to afford a little bit more, and I said I want to take a crack at to see if my son would be interested in it, and jump back into the hobby in 18.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get back into it, but what's the draw? Like what? Okay, do you have anything from your childhood? Is there like I'm sure you have some stuff, but what's the card? What's the bedrock card, like the foundation card for you?
So there wasn't. I was a huge 90s insert fan. Like it was my whole thing. I think honestly the draw was being able to afford everything I couldn't afford as a kid. I could never buy Topps Finest or Chrome, right? I just couldn't afford that back then. I ripped Collector's Choice, I ripped Topps, I ripped Bowman. I was mainly basketball. I have sets of Fleer. I've by the way, they're all sitting here. I still have not fully unpacked them. I've been promising to do a live for like 2 years, opening that bin and opening up all those sets. And back then it was making the sets, right? And then pulling, when you pulled a numbered card, forget autographs. Autographs were non-existent. But insert sets, and when you pulled the right inserts, that was the hits, the refractors, and that was the draw for me. So I went into my LCS in 2018. I met the owner. I started looking around and I said, look, I will listen to you. It turned out, and him and I built an amazing relationship. I said, I'll listen to you. Tell me what to buy. right? And he said, well, give me price points. I was like, look, if you tell me, I trust you. And from that day forward, he would call me on every release. He would set aside boxes for me on release days of every product. And I fell in love with certain products. Like, I'm a big encase junkie. I loved that it came with a graded card. I also like the insert, the cards that came in it. I'm more optic than prism guy. Like, there's just I've learned to like certain things. I love flawless more than NT, So I've ripped probably everything under the sun. I have quite the collection now. And about a year and a half ago, I started going into Kobe and MJ inserts,
Oh.
refractors, numbered, all of which I'm setting aside for my son.
Okay,
Who,
so talk to
yeah,
me. Sorry to interject. So talk to
no,
me. Let's back up there. You said two things that are interesting to me that make me think. And they play into a lot of the dialogue in the hobby we hear, right? We hear the dialogue of optic prism, the one, two, three different tiers of what's the most sought after, what's the most popular. I kind of feel like it really doesn't matter because it just comes down to what people can afford, and
yep,
two, sometimes the aesthetic appeal that people just like
yep.
the way the card. I personally think the optics look better than the prisms. They just do. I just felt the rated rookies that
I'm a
looks
big optic guy,
it
big
looks the
optic
rated
guy.
rookie hits every note for me. I
Hmm.
love that the fact that they kind of reincorporate that. So tell me why optic over prism. Flawless. Well, flawless is making its run now. Let's be honest over NT, but why flawless over NT? Why optic over prism?
So the hits out of flawless to me, and not just the encase cards, the patch cards, I like the flawless design better. I also like the parallel numbers and stuff better.
Oh.
Flawless just immediately just attracted me more than NT for whatever reason. I do personally like the cards more. I actually hit a card that's probably going to stay in my PC um, last year. Sorry, not last year. Recently.
Oh, that's a
It
beautiful card. Burrow and Herbert.
Burrow and Herbert, and the crazy part is the number is 910.
Oh,
9
wow.
out of 10. So it's dual jersey number on top of the fact that
And tell me about talk to me about game worn. Is that a game worn or is that event worn? Is that just non-super
um
event worn?
you know what? It's funny you say that. Um It's not, no. And most 2020 stuff wasn't, and this is not.
Why
I
is that?
just
Why was that? Why? And there was.
Because of COVID, they weren't
Oh,
pulling the
okay.
jerseys.
Ah,
Look,
interesting.
my
Interesting.
we could go down this
No,
panini
totally. We
conversation,
can. We can.
and
That's fine.
I think so. So here's my panini take, right? And I do have some corporate conversations. I'm in the hobby on the business side,
Yeah.
but I'll say I'll always be honest. I think what they did was one of the most disgusting things. And I think Topps did the same thing. They turned the hobby into a complete money grab for themselves. Okay. And I understand the opportunity, right? Look, I understand so many in the hobby stores that were struggling for 20 years, had the opportunity to make up for all of it in 2.5 years, essentially, while the iron was hot. However, it would be like Nike or Adidas selling Yeezys and Jordans for third party pricing, is
Mhm.
exactly what, Panini allowed. Did they do it themselves? No, because distributors had a lot to do with it, right? But the quality control. Look, I understand, and I'm a full, I'll say it all day long. Every card should not be a 10, right? But you're talking about redemptions that will never be redeemed, right? There's lawsuits going up the wazoo. LaMelo, did LaMelo will LaMelo ever sign? Doubt it. That's one of the biggest ifs, right? Um, And then Panini uses their legal team, right? So I'm very curious. I'll give you a perfect example. National Treasures. Joe Burrow was a redemption in 2020 Panini National Treasures. They were all signed because they are going out. The expiration date was October 14th. According to all of their disclaimers, they do not actually have to send out that card after that date. Okay. So, there historically, do I have proof? No. But historically, there have been some cards that have ended up in white boxes that people should have received, right? Then there has been the paper trail's a little tough, but it's been assumed that employees of Panini have sold redemptions and auctioned them off before. So you're talking about a card that's upwards of $25,000, right? Raw, right? Let's say even in a down market, $15,000 that they're not going to send potentially because their disclaimer says otherwise, or are they? It's a very interesting subject, right? This is a perfect example of what will Panini do, right? Because they're sitting there in a box, or they're sitting on somebody's desk, but how many boxes have not been opened? Nobody knows. Well, sorry, there are numbers. Panini knows how many have been redeemed. There's obviously 99 true RPAs, as well as a number of non-trues, right? The lower numbers, the golds out of 10, the out of 25s, the horizontals. There's a ton of cards. But how many of them will they not have to, send out because of, their disclaimers or what they can use? So it's a very, we started on this because of the game worn jersey thing, which Flawless, by the way, had always been the game worn, as opposed to National Treasures. National Treasures was not always. It was hit or miss. That's one of the reasons I like Flawless more too. But 2020, there was the whole COVID issue. Okay, fair. Okay, I get it. It's fair. Do people love it? Is it gonna ultimately bring them down in value? I don't think so. Because the autograph's still on there. People know what happened. Will game worn have higher value later down the line? I believe so. I'm a firm believer in that. But we'll see. But I'm curious, as everything plays out, as Fanatics, the Fanatics Panini deal has been on the table it was supposed to be done 3 months ago. I've heard of rumblings about what the holdup was. But if it gets done, does Fanatics change, and do they fix the redemption mess, right? What do they do with redemptions? A lot of people with LaMelo redemptions were expecting, to make back that money, just to use LaMelo. Nobody knows if he ever is going to sign those stickers. Right. He signed certain cards, but very few. And I know somebody reached out to me recently that has a red out of 5. I forgot what product. That's a big card. This person was expecting, $7, $8, maybe $10,000 for that card, and that's on the low end, right? That's a very realistic number. And they, because of their disclaimers, like right now, I had a redemption from 13-14, a big hockey card, probably a $700-$800 card. They gave me 1,400 points for it. It's a complete joke.
So, I mean, I don't want to tempt you, but this sounds a lot like a card porn post.
So
talk to me about the difference between what you're saying right now and a card porn post.
Here's my take on card porn. First of all, my face is on here. My name's all over this. Anybody can come call me, including from Panini, including anybody else that I'm mentioning, can reach out directly, and have a conversation with me. Hiding an identity, and then one of them. So there's multiple people running card porn. One of them revealed themselves. He was at National. he was on the live with Ken and Drake in the background. However, here's my biggest issue with card porn. You call yourself, or yourselves, the hobby watchdog, right? And that you're helping the hobby. I get the positive you're trying to do. There are a million scammers pages. It's absolutely good. However, are you there for the scams, or are you there for the drama to stir up drama? Because it seems like, they have the Drake video pinned at the top. Is it that important? What did it do for the hobby except, hype everybody to try to get the logo, man? You know, and I personally saw with my own eyes, without any affiliations, in live breaks, card porn pressure breakers into giving away free spots. Well, why is that fair? They have commented on breakers, pricing, but they don't know what breakers actually pay for their product. A lot of them were buying third and fourth hand, right? They didn't have distribution. They weren't getting through certain channels. And you're forcing somebody to give away their hard-earned money. Whether or not you like how much money they earn or don't, it's not your place, card porn, to force people to give away things, especially when you're not contributing. I'll be the first to say, like, I'm doing donations of cards for the holidays for kids, right? I'm friends with a lot of breakers. I have relationships with a lot of them. A lot of them throw out base cards or get rid of them. I pay for the shipping or offer to pay for the shipping for them to send me the cards, and I try to donate them to hospitals, kids, and whoever. Am I out there parading that? I said it to you on a podcast, but what are they doing? I don't see any contributions financially. So you're stirring up a whole bunch of drama. And look, TMZ, I wouldn't call them TMZ, because TMZ gets news, and they're like the original break now, for all news channels. I'd go a little more like National Enquirer.
Hmm.
That's and if they want to talk to me about it, they can talk to me about it. Look, I'm calling it what it is.
Okay, so tying this into the idea, the PC journey. We're talking about PC, and one of the
Yep.
things that I talk about, um, and been talking about on this show is the learning, the educational process, the barrier of entry as a collector, a hobbyist coming into this and trying to learn about the hobby. So, and card porn is something that I noticed and recognized right away as a new hobbyist coming in 2019. I came in, a year after you, and I collected when I was younger too. And it was an obvious force in the hobby. Everybody was paying attention to it, but they were responding to it. All the podcasts were literally responding to it, on cue. They go, Vadim, we're going to talk to you, Vadim. We want you to be a part of this. Not saying you would, but
Yep.
want you to come in and present to us. How should we be doing it? How should we be educating the collector that's learning about the hobby, that's trying to navigate the landscape, wants to build their PC, and make good decisions, not buy fake cards, not be duped by a breaker or any of that kind of stuff that's out. I mean, I'm not saying breakers are
Yeah.
bad, but just like what would you tell them? What would you tell them? What would be the
You know
solution?
what? First of all, there's so many people in the hobby that run, let's say, the scammers pages that have been in the hobby for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I would say anything pre the COVID boom are people who were in the hobby way before and saw all of these things transpire, right?
Mhm.
Reach out to those people, have conversations with those people, and see what they're putting out there. There's a reason they're putting out a specific person based on specific research, right? There's a few people that have YouTube channels that, I'm not going to name. People can figure out who they are, who have, they've called people names. They've done, what does that do? You're calling people names, as you're trying to bring knowledge. All you're doing is bringing yourself down, right? The negativity and everything else cancels out any good message that you're trying to send.
Right.
If you put out there, this person, and look, there's a couple known trimmers right in the hobby. There's a couple people that have replaced patches. There's a couple big time scammers, like big time, that scam people out of hundreds of thousands, even up to millions in cards, or even breakers. They've never talked about the guys that have scammed breakers out of hundreds of thousands. I know there was a person last year that scammed breakers out of overall about $1 million. They ran tabs for a person that was breaking a lot, and the person disappeared and didn't pay. I Nobody heard about that, right? Because it wasn't something that was going to get the proper attention, because people have a negative way of looking at breakers, or stuff like that. There's when you do something like that, don't make it about yourself, because it seemed like it was it's a very self-promoting station. The scammers pages don't have a name except for scammer pages, right? They're all about, presenting what the issues are, not who they are and how they're going to fix the issue. It should be a community, of people. It should be multiple people, and you discuss, how you present stuff. Social media is a force. As soon as you put something out publicly, especially on social media, the apology after, what is the apology? Who pays attention to the apology?
Mm-hmm.
When something comes out, it's immediately, oh, this is it. An apology after is usually too late. And I've seen that happen with a lot of good brands that had a very tough time because a couple of people in the hobby didn't like them and would put out, well, this was this and this was that. And then they kind of just leave it there, and it's, oh, okay, maybe I was wrong.
Right.
you know
Okay.
the apology later, like with anything else, it's like when you see a newspaper, and they end up, putting out news, and then later on it's like on page 22 on the bottom line of, oh, well, we retract some of the information we put out there. It's not as effective unless you're out there yelling it, and they're not going to, apologize and put it out there and yell, we're wrong. I just think they have a platform that could be used for a lot of good, but a lot of people, especially the last 6 or 8 months, did not like, the self promotion. The, oh, well, we know this guy, and we know Drake, and that's great. That's phenomenal. But what good is it? You're presenting, you're now an advertising agency for, Drake, Ken, you know, flawless and whatever else. But like, how many people can afford the flawless breaks,
Yeah.
right? And stuff like that, where this is, and it's like you're trying to better the hobby. I've said from day one, the biggest problem with the hobby was the wax prices. In order to grow, and the wax prices are coming down, and I think it's going to be good longevity wise, because affordability is going to grow it, right? If you go to shows and you see all the kids, my son is 6.5. He wanted a Jordan rookie, right? But that's because of, how I raised him, and how, but we can go to a show, and people can afford a $40 or $50 blaster, even though it's a little bit over retail price, but it's not $150, right? So affordability is going to help grow it long term. You need the kids. You need, the parent that can spend. If they can buy 3 hobby boxes for $1,000 as opposed to one, think about the growth in numbers of that alone.
Right. It encourages, stimulates growth, and you want
Yeah,
young kids and people to to be involved. That's exactly why we in
yeah,
this generation are back involved in the hobby, is because we grew up with it. It was affordable. Of course, we all know what happened, in the early 90s to the mid, it got a little out of control, but it reined itself back in. I think it'll rein itself back in again. So you've learned all these things about, what to avoid, the pitfalls. Um, watchdogs, whatever you want to call it. We can talk about all the good and the bad and the ugly,
yep.
and all the opinions everybody has. But let's walk into your PC. I want to I want to walk into your PC room for a minute here. Vadim, what do we
Okay,
have? Like, okay, so what are we looking at?
okay.
What's your
So
bedrock? Like, okay, and let me kind of lay this out.
I
What?
wish I could figure out how to flip the camera on
Yeah.
this.
Not sure if you know how, but what I was going to say is like when you're building a house, you start with the foundation. You don't start with the roof. You start
Yep.
with the foundation. What are those foundation cards for you and your PC?
Okay, so my foundation cards were, like I said, so we got my little guy a Jordan rookie last year. The first one we obtained it through trade was a BGS 25. Hold on, let me take it out. We actually got it in a trade, and it was
Nice. The iconic Michael
the
Jordan.
iconic Michael Jordan. I have taught my little guy that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and and now one of his goals this year was to upgrade to a 7. So we upgraded him to a 7. Okay.
But you still have the 2.5. Tell me about
yes.
that. Why?
So we actually, the deal that I got, it was a better cash deal. He knows we have to sell the 2.5 to cover the difference. And he is up for selling it. I taught, yes, he's 6.5. It's a very important example. I'm trying to teach him. If you want better things, you have to be able to let go of things that you have. And we weren't getting as much as I could get cash wise on that 2.5. So that's why I put up and made the cash purchase.
So this is the whole idea behind coloring up to get
Yep.
those cards. A lot of folks like to color up. Coloring up meaning you take, you sell stuff to buy stuff to get more, build up your collection to more desirable cards that you want as you learn and grow through the hobby.
Yep. So that's exactly it. So another funny one. I'm gonna break it out for you. I don't know if you saw. I posted it. Posted it the other day, but by total coincidence.
Okay. There's.
So the funny
Oh,
thing
boy.
is,
That's a
it
good one.
sits in my briefcase. It's been sitting in my briefcase. The whole drama is unfolding. I'm laughing about it because, and I'll give my take on it, right? I've spoken to Nat many times.
Yeah. That's
I
a good
think
guy. Real good
Nat's
guy.
a great guy.
He's a really good guy.
People are forgetting this little fact, okay? It's a $1 billion company, right? And in order for somebody as smart and successful as him to take a shot to blow an entire $1 billion company over a grade on a card that he's not selling. Let's remind everybody, he's not selling. Okay. When his car got broken into in California, he wasn't upset. He was upset he was losing the card.
Yeah.
Right. People are forgetting these little facts. And people go on these tangents about this nonsense that the guy's going to blow up a $1 billion company to get his stuff graded in a 10. In fact, I publicly, and I spoke to him about it, I publicly went after him. I believe it was last year. He cracked, I believe it was a BGS 8.5. I don't remember the card right now. And the card graded a 6. Okay. Notoriously, most of the cards he cracks go down grade wise from BGS to PSA. Right.
Right.
He said in an interview or on a live, I don't remember what the exact where it was said, but he said the value for the 6 is equal to that of an 8.5. The card was a 1 of 1.
Right.
And I completely went after it because I said that was one of the most dangerous things value-wise that somebody in his position could ever say. You can't say that. If you're in his position, you cannot make a comment like that. I understand he wants it in a PSA holder. Absolutely. And I respect that. However, the value of an 8.5 is not equal to a 6. Okay. So that was my problem with it. Wasn't that it was in a new holder or in a different company. My problem was they are completely different values. It is a lower value as a PSA 6. And, I said what I said. That's it, So it's funny because this whole incident, I actually forgot I had this card, and this is a card that I'm saving for my little guy. So this whole thing is going on, And then I'm going through my briefcase like 3 days later, and I post about it, and my DMs blew up like nothing I've ever seen, because it
Right.
is also a 9.5.
Right.
So it was all, oh, send it to Nat, send it to PSA, he'll get a 10 for you. And I'm like, are you guys serious? I didn't even do it for that reason. I did it because I thought it was funny that I found it in my PC box.
Let's actually let's stop there for a second. Now that you're here, let's unpack that a comment you just made. 9.5, 10. 9.5, 10. Talk to
Yep.
me about 9.5s and 10s. Do they matter to you? Are they interchangeable in your mind? Is it
So
depend on the card, the year, the set?
personally, as a 90s like insert collector, I want all my Jordans in BGS labs. Personally, I
Really? Why
that's
is
a
that?
I think that 90s inserts belong in BGS. To me, that's my personal take on it.
Okay.
Beckett was the it. Think about it. It was the magazine. When we were, when I was growing up, we're probably not that far apart in age. I'm 38. Beckett was it.
42. Yeah.
PSA has made the resurgence because Beckett really dropped the ball. And I think what Beckett did, and I said this on the Luca podcast. One of the biggest things I saw at the National this past year was what Beckett is doing to come back as a company. I think they're going to monumentally make a movement back. As hard as it's going to be. It's an uphill battle for them. But for my PC stuff, if I'm not selling it right now, value wise, 9.5s to 10s is a disgusting difference in price. And I'm telling people, if you have the opportunity, like I just saw some at auctions not too long ago that are like 2.5 times less for a 9.5. Go get those 9.5s. Like there's no way. Will it catch up to a 10? It shouldn't. But a BGS 10 should be a higher value than a PSA 10, in my opinion. I think it's
Is
a harder grade.
is that even more the case depending on the set? Because sometimes
It
there's
is.
not that
It
many
depends on
cards,
the
and
set. It
so
depends on the set. Totally.
in the
So it's
90s, there's not so many of them, and sometimes having a 9 or an 8.5 or I have a Kobe finest, the air, the
yep.
gold refractor, having an 8.5. I mean, there just aren't very many of them. I'm happy to have an 8.5. I'll
Absolutely. And I love the Beckett slab. It's always been it for me. No offense to PSA, but I've heard people talk all over the place on social media about how they love the look of it. I'm like, no, you're conditioned that the financial difference has conditioned you to like it more. Just call it what it is. Aesthetically, the red and white label, I don't think it's very aesthetically pleasing. You know, I actually, when CSG had this label, I love the green label, and I loved how hard they were grading cards because when they came out, I sent in thousands. I saw 110 out of like 2,000 cards, right? It was extremely hard to get. They said their 9.5s crossed to PSA 10s all day long. But I like the green label. Nobody else liked it. But there are PC cards that I have from the 90s that I got for myself. I threw them in CSG, slabs, and I'm keeping them. I don't need to sell them.
Okay, so let's pretend we're walking down the street in New York City,
Yep.
and someone walks up to us and goes, "Listen, in order for you to feed your children for the next 10 years, you're going to need to get rid of all of your cards but 10.
Okay.
I need you to identify to me those 10 cards and why you would keep them and liquidate everything else."
Okay.
And if you can show them to us, that'd be great. Even better.
Connor McDavid,
Wow.
out of 10.
Why
It's
that card?
it's so I think there's a reason they call him McJesus. I think he's better than Ovechkin and Crosby. I think it's going to be very hard to ever be Gretzky, right? I think he's going to be the closest thing to Gretzky value wise as a player. It's also very ironic that he's playing in Edmonton. The fact that that worked out like that is like, it's, like, imagine if Kobe played in Chicago. It's such a weird thing. Connor McDavid to me is the truth. I think long-term value-wise, hockey is very behind the ball, and people need to catch up. People are catching up to it. Steph Curry,
Wow.
flawless, auto, encased, 25 out of 25. I love,
Wow.
yeah, I traded for that specifically because of that. Okay. I have put together a lot of, there's a lot going on in here. So I'm a big Pat Tillman guy, by the way.
Yeah, what a stud. Pat
Yeah.
Tillman was just a stud. How can you not love that guy? I see a
Okay.
lot of SGC in there. So I see you don't really you're a card guy. You're not too worried about the holder, it looks like.
I'm not too worried about the holder. I have a lot the SGC that look that I'm keeping the tens. There's a lot of tens that I graded during COVID, during the shutdown, and PC cards to me. Okay, here's another BGS. Um, have you seen these clear?
Wow. What is that?
It's a Kobe Bryant.
Oh no, really? Wow.
Yeah,
There's Tate as well.
it's yeah,
That can't
and
be easy to grade either. That's got to be a
no,
hard grade to
it's the
get.
glass. Yeah, they were the
The
glass
glass, upper
redemptions.
deck glass cards they had.
These were actually the absolutes, but they were
Okay,
redemptions in absolute Panini absolute.
that is
I love
gorgeous.
that. I love that card.
That's a gorgeous
And my
card.
second favorite Kobe card is actually this. It's the sorry, I wish I had a better
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
angle. It's
Oh yeah,
out of 90.
out of 90. Look at that beautiful
And
card.
with the jersey color match.
The tops cards in the 90 or the 2000s were just they I don't know, they just
Yep. Yep.
they just hit different.
I'm gonna show you a card I recently graded that is to me card that's I hope I never have to sell. Hold on one second. Sorry. There's so much. I mean, this is a cool one.
Look at that.
Babe Ruth, and that's flawless. I love baseball flawless. Love baseball
See
flawless.
what's great about this right now, and this is really the whole intention, is we're looking at your PC, a collection, and it's not so much we're worried about the grader. We're worried
No.
more about the card and the condition of the card. That's what matters. I think more people need to see stuff like this. We don't see this.
Well,
You know,
that
it just needs to be seen. I mean, I think it's important for people to see the 10 cards you will not that's hard for you to live without are very different. Everybody's 10 cards are going to be very, very different, and the holders they're in are going to be different. They're not always going to be the same. It's not going to be a PSA show. It's not just going to be BGS or SGC. It's going to be all type. Heck, it's going to be raw in some cases, and there's nothing
so,
wrong with that.
so I'm gonna show you these two. These two are so I actually pulled both of them. They're
Oh,
both
that's better
optic
yet.
oranges. Okay,
Wow.
Zion and Ja. I think those cards to me, because of what happened in the hobby and everything else, are two of the most distinctive things about this time period in cards that we will see for a long time. Right? A lot of people say the Ken Griffey rookie is indicative of the junk era of the 90s.
Yeah.
I think that we will forever remember Zion and Ja for the 1920 year. right? And the 1920 class. Here, while I look for, oh, here it is. Okay. Okay.
Oh, look at that. So talk me through this card. Why?
Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. It is a sticker auto, but you know what? Find me a card that has three of the top. And by the way, I think Isaiah Thomas is one of the most hated players. I'm up on that list if I don't like him as a person, as a whatever it was. I don't know him obviously personally, but a lot of people didn't like Isaiah. He still was one of the greatest point guards of all time.
Yeah.
And Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, to have an auto of theirs on one card, whether it's stick or not, to me, and it was a patch auto. It's one of the greatest cards. By the way, I got that card for like, I don't know, $500, even
Wow.
in the hype, because people slept on that. People
Yeah.
slept on that. I also got this recently. It's a Larry Bird select. You see the color match there.
Color match there too. That's a gorgeous card.
You see the number?
Is that 33?
Yes, sir.
Wow. I mean, those little things. Now, those are small things that, they matter to you, but they also matter to the hobby. When you can coincide with what matters, what's relevant and matters in the hobby with what matters to you, I feel like it's such a win, because you check all the boxes. It's just so you have, those are the cards you have that you just can't live
Yep.
without. And you'd liquidate everything else. And we're just pretending. I'm sure you have other cards.
I mean, I'll show you quickly since we're on this.
No, do it. Keep showing.
I don't know if you've seen. So I'm possibly the biggest Drazen Petrovic collector in the world. It's hard to say biggest, but I'm definitely up there. I'm in the process of completing the 1819 Rainbow.
Really? How cool is that?
Okay, so that's the 1819 Rainbow.
That's the basketball player that passed away in the early 90s, correct?
Yes, who Michael Jordan has said they say he was the Steph Curry of his time.
Right.
Totally different game. So I haven't graded them yet, but 21-22 Rainbow in the works.
This is gold. This is really, really
cool. Oh, as we pull gold.
No, and this is what I'm talking about. Like Drazen Petrovic.
Yep.
Now, do you have his 89 hoops and his 90 hoops and
do
you have all those old school ones?
I have this one.
Oh, look at that.
I have so many. Like, yeah, here's
it is.
Here's the Fleer. I have countless amounts of hoops. I have almost every card of his ever made. Where's a cool one? Hold on. Wow. I hold. Yeah, there's this one. There's that.
So you have a lot. I see a lot of SGC. You like SGC. Oh, there's the skybox, baby.
There's the sky. There's the
skybox. There's the hoops. There's the card I remember having as a kid.
So I sent all those in during lockdown, and this is my PC. Okay. Should I have waited? Yeah, because now they're doing the deals. They're doing it all right. But it mattered so much more. I'll tell you. So I'm trying to make the 21-22 Rainbow. It's very well known in the hobby. And people are reaching out to me, like the black gold. Somebody reached out to me here. Let me show you a cool one first before. 1988 Panini Sport. Italian. So Super Sport. So I own half the pop count with PSA on that card, and I'm about to submit another 6 or 7 of them that I've been hunting down all over Europe. That was, by the way, one of the craziest sets. If you look at that setup, we're talking about Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, Evander Holyfield, Senna. Senna was in that, the race car driver, the Formula One driver that passed away.
Yeah.
He was in that. One of the craziest sets. It was a Panini Italian set. Drazen just happened to be in it. And
Wow.
I have been grading them. They grade very poorly. They're from 1988. They're little tiny stickers. You know, there is a 9 out there, but I've had three. I have 3 8s. I have multiple 7s. You know, and I'm trying to get a 9 or 10 for my PC to just have in there. That's why I'm grading them, because people will ask and say, "Oh, you're buying them to flip them." I have I sold. I've sold. I sold one recently because why not? It's covering the cost of my other ones, right?
Mhm.
But I do ultimately want to get the highest grade I can get to leave in my collection.
So the obvious question, why Drazen?
So my background is I'm Eastern European. I was born in Russia, you know, well, Ukraine. But that kind of, you know, he's from that part of the world. He was a rare breed, and he played for the Nets. I think the story is super sad and people don't even know it. They're making a movie about him that's being released, I believe, in March of 23 to tell the
Cool.
story. One of the best 30 for 30s that ESPN, in my opinion, ever made was about him. So him, Vladi Divac, and Dino Raja all played together for the national team. And they were very good friends growing up. He was Divac's one of Divac's best friends, and when he passed away, it was a big deal. It was a freak thing. The other 3 people in the car survived. His girlfriend was driving the car. They got into an accident on the bridge. It was a total freak thing. And Michael Jordan, and it's one of those things like, look, I collect MJ, I collect Kobe, you know, I'm setting those aside. But I want to teach Hudson, and people should know about the what could have been, right? There was, you know, everybody knows about Len Bias, right? And those guys that passed away for whatever reason and didn't make it. Nobody talks about Drazen. And to me, I just kind of found it was like a different thing that was a lot more affordable and into a rainbow. I also thought it was cool to try to make a full color set. Panini's killing me, 62 colors this year. So it's not an easy task. I'm at
They're
over 40.
they're keeping you collecting though, my friend. They're keeping
Oh,
you going, right? I mean,
oh,
they're giving you something to reach for.
oh yeah. You know what? Literally, if I get
Spinning that
complete the
positively.
if I complete that rainbow, I want some kind of something from them for being able to put it together. you know,
Well, they know where to find you, so
yeah. Well, you know what? The chase is fun. I love it.
exactly.
I'm a true, you know, I am a collector. I didn't show you. I'm a big Pavel Bure guy. Um,
Oh, interesting.
that's that's a lot more. So growing up, Russian Rocket. You know, I
Yeah.
was the Russian kid in school who came here who didn't speak English. You know, and right at that time was when he came over in '91, and it was right around the same time. Had he not been hurt, he would have broken a lot of the scoring records. He was way ahead of everything.
So
And
I imagine you have the upper deck card with him on his rollerblades. You got that one?
oh yeah, yeah. I think I went through that. That's in the briefcase, but here is like I have an entire.
Oh, you got a lot of beret. See, I grew up, I'm in Seattle. We watched before the Kraken came along. I grew up watching the Canucks. So I was a huge beret fan. I had a little card he sent to me signed. I had all his cards as a kid.
So
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like typical collector style. You know, we all have our quirks. Being that you're from Seattle, this makes it a little bit more. I will only buy his stuff on the Canucks.
Those jerseys are cool. I actually tried to, I could have purchased one. I haven't, I just can't now that we have the Kraken in town and our bank is the primary sponsor for them. So it's sweet. I've actually watched Carter play in person. So I got to be careful there. But I I got a Patrick Kane jersey because I'm a hockey guy too. My family is Canadian. My mother's still a Canadian citizen.
Yep.
Never became an American citizen. So I got a ton of family in Lower Mainland, but went up to Vancouver to play, shows a lot in my band. So I was just very, very much a part of my fabric. But hockey's a big deal, and I have cousins that played. And actually, Jean Bellevue is a
Yep.
distant cousin of mine. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So a lot of hockey in the family. So it was always I collected a lot of hockey when I was a kid. Actually, at one point or another, had a Mary Lemieux Tops PSA 9. I'm really looking to get an O-Pee-Chee 10 at some point, or O-Pee-Chee 9 even, because I don't have any more hockey cards. I kind of condensed down just to Jordan and Griffey, or not Jordan and Griffey, Kobe and Griffey, and a few Mike Trouts. But yeah, Bure was a big deal. He was so fast. He made everybody want to rollerblade and play roller hockey.
Literally.
Yeah, I mean, it was the thing to do back then. He was, you got Trevor Linden on that team. You got Kirk McLean in the net.
Oh yeah, no, it's
All those guys.
so the funny part was I was a Ranger fan,
Oh yeah, we
and
hated you
but
guys. Oh, you
no,
broke my heart.
but you know what? I was a Bure fan and had a Bure jersey walking around New York
Oh, they
back
hated
then.
you.
Oh,
Yeah, they
they
didn't like
hated
you.
me, but I was a Ranger fan, and I'm like, look, there was nobody like him at that time. The
Yeah,
game was very different. There was nobody like him. Look, Gretzky wasn't that speed. I mean, he was a totally different game, right?
right.
And what Bure brought, and the fact that I was, Russian and everything else was just, it's exactly what it is. So I will only buy Canuck stuff of his. One of my best friends got me a gift recently. It's a number 10 jersey signed by him and a
Oh
picture
wow.
signed by him. Like totally. Apparently, he's been digging it, trying to get it, which I'm gonna have framed. But I just acquired all these cup cards and stuff like that. I bought somebody's collection out. Because it's that stuff that I'm gonna, and I can tell my son. By the way,
Yeah.
Bury is a very, very there's Burries get buried. Nobody sells those. I acquired it from a huge Bury collector, and the big Bury cards, like the ones that you saw at a 10 out of 25s, they get put away. Nobody sells them.
And that's what's fun about. I mean, you're gonna have people in New York trying to get you a Brian Leach jersey here sent to you. You're gonna see those coming your way pretty soon. They're gonna be some ticket or that or Messier. I mean, that's what it's about. These coffin cards, these cards that don't exist, they don't surface. That's what's cool about. I'm hoping with this show we start to see some of these cards that we just don't ever see in the wild, because these collectors are holding on to them. They're collecting them. They want them in their PC. They don't want to let them go, and that's what's important. So I know we're kind of creeping up on time here, so I'll ask you a couple more questions. So you have a very eclectic collection, and I
Yep.
appreciate you walking us through some of the odds and ends of it, and the Drazen, the Pavel Bure, your 10 cars. You got some of the staples in there. You got the Jordan. You've got the Curry. Wow, look at all that wax! Holy cow! And you got a lot of wax. But here's the one card you need to have, and I mean maybe you have it. Surprise me, please surprise me. If you are a hockey fan in the
Yep.
early 90s, late 80s, then you have to have the hologram. Do you have the cup card?
Um,
Do you
I
have the hologram cup card?
I don't. I'm working on that. I'm
Yeah,
working on that.
that's the card. I don't know if it was a bigger chase card in hockey. And it's funny because still people just don't know about hockey cards. How big of a deal that card was. That was the card. I mean, everybody wanted the hologram cup card. How rare is that card, Vadim? Is that a rare card?
Oh well, the PSA pop count on like the it's very rare. The 9s and 10s, I think, are
Right?
the
Did
number.
you ever see one in the wild? Did you ever actually hold one in your
I
hand?
have not held one. I have not held one.
It's funny and it's a hologram, right? My son, he's 5. He loves holograms. I buy these 91, 92 Upper Deck High Series. You take the cards, throw them away. He loves the holograms. He thinks they're the coolest things in the world. Just loves them. He's already into the shiny refractor. I mean, I can tell he's heading that direction.
Yeah. So hold on. While we're on that, I have this MJ that I was actually super happy it came back a 9 because I like when it matches when the I love the color match on it. That's the
Well, yeah, because
Jordan
it's the
hologram.
silver with the
It's the silver
silver.
with the
Yeah,
silver with the
it just
silver.
dances together. It just works
Yeah.
perfectly. What's your pup's name?
This is Guinevere. This is the older one, and
That
then I
guy.
have my the bigger the bigger one just turned a year. She's upstairs.
She's
She's
upstairs
a lot
pumping around.
louder.
A lot
Yeah.
louder, a little louder. She makes noise when she moves around. That's
Yeah.
really cool. That's really cool. So, let's finish with this. This has been awesome. We'll have to do this again since you have so many cards. I think you might be a part two type guy. You gave us a lot of great information, but let's finish with this, Vadim. What I give someone gives you $100,000. You go here. Listen, you don't need this for don't interject it into your business. I'm going to give you 100 grand. I want you to invest it in cards, not invest in cards. Let's not even use the word invest anymore. Let's just say you, because
Okay.
this is about PCs and what we love to keep. Obviously, we want it
Yep.
to be a good store of value. We want all this to go up, right? We don't want it to go down. Everybody, and no matter what anybody says on any forum or any Instagram chat, you want your collection to sustain value at some point. You don't want it to go to zero. Nobody does. But you
Yep.
still love the cards enough. You know, those Burries are worth something. Even the Drazens are worth something. I mean, they're all worth something. Sentimental value,
Babe Ruth.
any kind of value.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth. What was this? So $100,000. I give you $100,000. You go buy Babe Ruth.
I'm a big Yankee fan. Funny enough, I live walking distance from Citi Field. But I've always been a Yankee fan. I think it's because I'm the anti, so like whatever my family rooted for, I went the other way on. Um, I the mantle, we all get it. We all get it. I almost bought one at the National. I almost bought an SGC 4. Babe Ruth to me is it. I hope to be a big guy like Cage one day and acquire one. Doesn't even have to be the I believe it's a 33 Gaudi. It's something. I want something. Look, that relic flawless that I have in there with a Babe Ruth means more to me than almost anything in there. And the card's a couple $100, right? But I've already shown Hudson, stuff like the Sandlot, and he was like 3, I think, the first time I showed him the Sandlot, and he was like, "Babe, babe," and then as he got older, like there was a base prism I found in my office in my cards when I was going through it today of Babe Ruth. They put him in prism, it's unlicensed, doesn't matter. It's Babe Ruth, right? So I brought it home and he said, "Oh, yeah, Daddy, that's going in my briefcase." I want him to have and know those values, and those are values that I have also. Look, there's a reason. So the other things that are in the PC box that I didn't show, Jerry West Auto. I have one in there. Yes, it's on a Contenders card. It's modern. Jerry West, in my opinion. Charles Barkley is in there.
Round, mound, and rebound.
Yeah, you know what? I watched those. I watched the finals. Like that 94 finals when, no, not 90, 93 finals when Jordan beat him up. That to me, like that was watching Jordan. I watched that finals, and Barkley I think is a hilarious guy. There's certain things that should be part of my PC, and the one thing that I don't have is the mantle. I'm gonna get one at some point. I feel like the Ruths are gonna be a lot harder to come by.
Yeah, I agree. That's good. That's good stuff, man. What a terrific episode. These just keep getting better. These just keep getting better. Thank you so much for taking time, Vadim. This
Thank
has been a
you.
pleasure. We're gonna have to do part 2 because there's just way too much content to contain.
Oh, there's so much I didn't show you. So
yeah. We'll do another one.
You mentioned hockey. I do hockey mystery packs. So the hockey that I have is like something that people like look at the stuff that I acquire a lot for mystery packs, and then I always kind of sneak one out that goes in the collection out of everything I'm acquiring. So I'm a big hockey guy. Upper Deck is and will always be the superior product to me.
That's awesome. Well, friends, Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, any thoughts on today's episode, Dean gave us a lot of information, and he gave us a lot of opinion too. I think helpful and encouraging stuff. I don't think drama at all. I don't hear drama when I hear this conversation. I hear healthy topics, resolutions, potential opportunities for improvement, or just some good old fashioned advice. If you have any questions or advice yourself, please put it in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you
Thanks for
so
joining.
much.
Thanks, Radim. Take care.